I gave my parents a luxurious one-week trip to Europe with me. I'd been planning it for months, saving every extra rupee I could spare, secretly booking flights and hotels, imagining the looks on their faces when I told them. My parents had spent most of their lives putting themselves last, working long hours, skipping vacations, wearing the same clothes for years, just so my siblings and I could go to good schools and have a better shot at life. So when I finally reached a point where I could afford something meaningful, I didn't hesitate. They deserved a break from everything. They deserved the world. And in my mind, Europe felt like the closest thing to giving them that. When I finally revealed the surprise, they were stunned into silence. My father kept saying, "Are you serious? All three of us? Together?" My mother had tears in her eyes, touching my face like she was making sure I was real. It was the kind of reaction that makes every sacrifice worth it. I felt like the happiest child alive. For days leading up to the trip, the house buzzed with excitement. My father looked up videos of places we were visiting: Paris, Rome, Venice, Zurich. My mother spent hours deciding which shawls to pack, which shoes were comfortable enough for walking tours. She must have called every aunt and cousin in the family to tell them. Even neighbors knew we were traveling. I could feel the joy radiating off them, and it made me almost childishly happy. Then came the actual day of packing. Their suitcases were open on the bed, half filled with folded clothes, neatly rolled socks, and the snacks my mother insisted we take just in case we get hungry on the plane. I was smiling, helping them zip up bags and check documents, when suddenly my father called my name softly. "Beta," he said, looking strangely serious. "We need to talk." I turned, expecting something simple like a question about baggage allowance, or whether he should pack a sweater. But the expression on both of their faces was different. Heavy. Almost guilty. My mother reached out and held my hand. "We aren't going." I actually laughed at first because it sounded too absurd. What do you mean you're not going? "We leave in 2 days." My father sighed, lowering himself onto the edge of the bed like the words weighed on him. "This trip is too much, Beta. Too expensive. Too luxurious. We can't let you spend this much money on us." And just like that, every bit of excitement I'd carried for months sank into my stomach like a stone. I tried to reason with them. I already paid for everything. The tickets, the hotels, the tours, it's all done. You won't spend a single rupee. It's my gift. But my mother shook her head. "It's not about the money being already spent. It's about what it means. You're young. You should be saving your money for your future, your home, your marriage, your life. Not blowing it on old people who don't need these fancy things." "Old people?" I said, feeling my voice tighten. "You're my parents. This isn't blowing money. This is gratitude. This is love." She looked away, eyes suddenly misty. My father put his hand on mine, warm and trembling slightly. "We never gave you luxury. We never had it. We are comfortable with simple things. This trip, we won't enjoy it the way you want us to. It will make us feel guilty the whole time." That hit me harder than I expected. I stood there, feeling the weight of their words. All my life, they'd lived with the mentality of sacrifice. They never bought new things for themselves, never took vacations, never felt they deserved expensive experiences. And even now, when I finally had the means to give them something big, their instinct was to refuse to protect me instead. But then my father continued softly, "There's something more." My mother sighed deeply, as if forcing herself to say what came next. "Your sister, she needs help." There it was, the truth they had been holding back. "She came yesterday," my mother whispered. "She's in trouble, financial trouble." And she was crying. She said she didn't know what to do. I felt my jaw clench because I already knew where this was going. My sister had a history of getting into messes, bad spending habits, impulsive decisions, borrowing money she couldn't repay. And every time, my parents stepped in, not because she deserved it, but because they couldn't watch her suffer. "What she needs," my father said quietly, "is the same amount you spent on this trip." My chest tightened. For a moment, I couldn't speak. "So," my mother said, "we think you should cancel the trip, get at least some of the money back. Use it to help her." I stared at them, stunned, heartbroken, angry, confused. A mix of emotions I couldn't untangle. "You're telling me," I said slowly, "that after everything, after months of planning, After all the excitement, you want me to cancel the trip so I can give the money to her? My mother's voice was pleading. She needs it more than we need Europe. And what about me? I whispered. Does what I want matter at all? Do my efforts matter? My father looked at me with gentle sadness. They matter, more than you know. But helping family in need, that matters too. I felt like something sharp cracked inside me, because deep down, I knew exactly what was happening. My parents weren't rejecting the trip. They were rejecting the idea of putting themselves first, even for once. They were falling back into the pattern they'd lived their whole lives: sacrifice, sacrifice, sacrifice. And my sister always knew she could rely on that. The room fell silent for a long moment. Finally, I took a deep breath. I'm not canceling the trip, I said firmly, surprising even myself. If she's in trouble, I'll see what I can do separately. But this trip, this is for you, for us, and I'm not letting guilt take that away. My mother looked like she might protest, but I held up my hand gently. I'm not doing this instead of helping her. I'm doing this because I want at least one thing in life to be about you too. About us. Because you both deserve to step out of this house. Out of worries, out of stress, and see a world you've only watched on TV. My father rubbed his forehead, torn. But, no, I said softly, this is happening. And if you still refuse, I swallowed, then I'll go alone. And that might hurt me more than you think. My mother's lips trembled. Tears filled her eyes again. But this time they weren't from guilt, they were from conflict, fear, and love all tangled together. After a long, heavy pause, she reached for my hand again. We need time to think. I nodded and left the room, heart pounding, feeling a strange mixture of sadness and hope. That night, I barely slept. I kept imagining the trip with them, my father tasting gelato in Italy, my mother taking pictures of every cathedral, the three of us laughing, walking, exploring. It wasn't just a vacation. It was healing. It was memories we'd never get again. The next morning, they called me into the living room. My parents stood together, holding each other's hands. My father spoke first. We talked all night. And you're right. We've spent our whole lives saying no. Maybe it's time to say yes. My mother stepped forward, her voice shaking. We'll go with you, Beta. We will try. For you. For us. Relief washed over me so strong I nearly broke down. A week later, we boarded the plane. My parents were nervous but excited. Every smile they gave me made every struggle worth it. Seeing them walking hand in hand through European streets laughing, trying new foods, taking pictures like teenagers was one of the most beautiful experiences of my life. And somewhere in those days, I realized something important. Sometimes parents don't refuse because they don't want your gift. They refuse because they don't know how to stop sacrificing. Sometimes you have to show them gently that they deserve joy too. And as for my sister, well, her situation got sorted. Not magically, not easily. But I helped her after we came back, because family is family. But this time, I did it without sacrificing the only chance. I had to give my parents the trip of a lifetime. And I'm glad I chose that path. Because those memories, those smiles, those moments are worth more than any money I could ever lose.